some of his leadership skills. No question he has a background. He was in Washington a very long time. But Newsmax contributor Dick Morris says this in his new column: Biden will be the least powerful president since Carter, Jimmy Carter, obviously. Joining us now, presidential historian, author of the book Inside Trump's White House, the real story of his presidency, Doug Wead. Doug, give me your assessment as you look. I mean, you know Joe Biden very well. He's spent 40 years plus in Washington. So how do you see him? Do you compare him to Jimmy Carter? For those of us that were around back at that time, he got caught in minutia and was not a strong leader.
Yes, and I know Jimmy Carter very well. There are two nuances to Dick Morris's column that I think should be added. One is that Joe Biden has this great relationship with the media. They're like little children, little birds waiting for him to feed them their food. They're just intellectually boring. They have no challenge whatsoever. I interviewed Carter at length. The media was very aggressive. They were coming out of the Nixon, Watergate, Gerald Ford era. They were hungry for bear, even though Carter was a Democrat. Carter told me he invited Kay Graham, publisher of the Washington Post, to the private quarters of the White House his first day in office, and he and Rosalind had dinner with her, but they could never get anything going. He was a born-again Christian. Washington, New York, was offended by his culture. So that's one big difference that Biden has going for him. The other nuance to what Dick Morris wrote complements what he says, and that is this will be a powerful vice president, and he will be weak because he's lame duck. He's 78 years old. That means when he runs for re-election, he will be 82. He is not likely to run for re-election. And if everybody knows that, then he's a lame duck president. And one by one, his staff is going to move to Kamala Harris and say, what does the vice president think about this?
Has there ever been a situation that we can look to in history where the vice president has been as powerful as potentially Kamala Harris will be?
It's not very often. It briefly happened under John Tyler, but not very often. And some people would say it was George W. Bush and Dick Cheney, but I knew George W. Bush and know him very well. And I guarantee you that is absolutely not the case. He was thrilled by his pick. His dad had picked Dan Quayle, and he was happy that he had picked Dick Cheney, which people applauded and liked and were impressed by. But the power comes from the president. When he withholds it, the vice president has nothing. It's like a water spigot going off. The exception is when they're lame duck. And even a great president like Ronald Reagan, when I was serving George H.W. Bush, we could see the power passing from Ronald Reagan and people on his staff who wanted to stay in the White House under the next administration started asking us for favors and started asking us what we wanted. So I even saw the power erode from a man as great as Reagan. So imagine what will happen to Joe Biden. I expect Joe Biden.
That's interesting. You know, George H.W. Bush, a lot of people considered that the third term of Ronald Reagan. And now a lot of people are saying this is the third term of Barack Obama. Now that we have Joe Biden back in the White House or in the White House. So do you think that's a valid comparison, that this is the third term? And if so, what should we expect?
No, in some ways in policy maybe, but no, in personnel, they make changes. George H.W. Bush came under fire because he wouldn't bring on a lot of the Reagan people. He puts his own team in place, and Biden's showing that he will do that. So in that sense, he's going to exercise his muscles, and Obama's going to be a little bit surprised that his vice president will show that independence, that it's power. If you have it, if I have it, if Heather has it, it goes to your head, and you start feeling your oats. That's going to happen with Joe Biden, in my humble opinion.
Well, Doug, we will watch and see how long it takes for that to happen. Thank you for joining us, Doug.
Thanks for having me.
Always great insight. And
My friends are calling me all the time and writing me and saying, "You've disappeared from television. We can't find you. We don't see you anymore." This is the only way we've been figured out how to beat the censors. If you subscribe to this channel, hit the subscribe button and then hit the bell, you'll get notification when I'm on TV. Otherwise, you won't get my Instagrams, my messages on Facebook. It's censorship. So I want to hear from you. I want you to be able to hear from me.